word broken comes up a lot in music tonight. Michael and I were kind of joking about that a little bit. Broken is a weird term. When we think of things that are broken, a lot of times we think of things that don't work anymore, that are useless. They're no good. And it's not always the case. So a person that I know in ministry that will remain nameless, who uses the term, yes!
Speaking of abuse.
That's what I hear when that person says the word broken, is that sound that you just experienced. It's one of those things, it's like, some people, it's nails on a chalkboard, feedback from a giant speaker. Some people, the noise when you're cutting on like a foam plate, which you shouldn't be using that stuff anymore. What's wrong? Come on. You know, come on. We know that. But you know that sound? It's like, I saw a special one time about styrofoam you throw together and this woman like would go just like lose her mind. But anyway, that's a different story. We can play it another time. I have lots of stories. I read books sometimes. And this, believe it or not, is a book. This is a bootleg copy because it's no longer in print. And the person that gave it to me will remain nameless since we are going out on the airwaves right now. But he did make this copy of this book for me, and it's by a guy named John Fisher. At least it was out of print, maybe it came back. And it's called Dark Horse, The Story of a Winner. It's a really quick read. It's like 59 pages. You can read it in like one sitting. Or two if you're a slower reader, or four if you're like me. But this book is interesting. When I first read it, I didn't think that much of it. It was like, oh, that's a cute story, thanks. You know? And he gave it to me like on the slide. We were in this youth leaders meeting, and we were all talking about doing book studies and stuff, and he like opens his bag and like sneaks it out, like kind of slides it over, and then like knocks it into my lap, and he's like, I'm like, all right. So I thought it was like some like secret book, you know, and I read it, and it's kind of a cute story. And then every now and then I find it, and you know, sometimes you need like something to read. You're doing stuff that you need something to read during. Jessica knows what I'm talking about. Michael's smiling. All right, anyway, so sometimes you grab a book and you go sit down somewhere and you read for a little while. So that ended up being the book one time. And I was flipping through it, and I started reading it again, and I started seeing something in it. And that's what I want to talk to you guys about a little bit tonight. The story is about a horse. Maybe got that on the cover and the title Dark Horse. But it's about a horse that isn't dark. It's about a horse that is white. And this horse was blessed at birth to have predominantly white features. So in the horse's coloring, if you can picture a horse, most of this horse is white. This horse has a black spot on its leg. Horses stand like this. So on one of its front legs, there's a big dark spot on it. And because this horse is so close to being all white, they sent the horse to a special ranch, and it's called the White Horse Ranch. And at the White Horse Ranch, horses are trained, and they have all of this time and energy put into learning how to stand the right way so that they can cover up all of the dark spots. It talks about one horse who was blessed with a beautiful white rump. So the backside of the horse is completely white. And the only other place it has white is on its face. So the horse would have to present itself like this. And it was taught and trained how to stand that way, so that when people would come to the horse shows, they would see these all-white horses, because they learned how to hide their flaws. Sound familiar? Yeah, we spend a lot of our time and energy learning how to stand just right, so people don't see what's wrong with us. So people don't see those flaws, that stuff that's going on underneath. The things that we've done. The things we're scared everybody's going to know if we don't stand and cover it up. And some of us started doing that stuff a long time ago. You know when we first become skilled at that? Oh, it's junior high. That's when some of us really started honing that skill. That first day you walk in and you're wearing like, a pair of Wranglers and some boots. Just saying, that kid didn't have a chance. And here anyway, I mean, to go somewhere else, you're not wearing Wranglers and boots. You're hosed. But you come in and there's all this criteria, there's all these things that make us think this is what we have to do to fit, to be like everybody else. Just like with the horses. If I could just learn how to stand so everyone would think I'm all white, that I'm perfect, then I'd be all right. The term perfect, tonight we're talking about being imperfect, talking about imperfections. The term perfect, I did some research this week. I like saying I do research to make me sound like I'm smart and I do stuff that smart people do. What that means is I went Google. And I type like this, by the way. So it takes me longer even. But I did some research, and Aristotle, I'm dropping Aristotle, look at that. Aristotle is one of those smart people that thought about stuff and told everyone, and people wrote it down because it sounded really smart. Aristotle said that perfectness is completeness. That to be perfect, we have to be complete, which means whole, finished, if you will. So to be imperfect then, if we're to go along that line of philosophy, is to be unfinished, is to be incomplete. It means there's something left to be added or subtracted from our lives. And for those of us that are wondering, are we done, are we complete? You're not, because you're still here. When you die, that's when the game is over. That's when this life is complete. So until then, we're going to remain imperfect. We're always going to be imperfect. Our scripture tonight, even shorter than last week, 2 verses. Romans 3:23. I remember I used to go to like Awana, like a youth group for kids back in the day. Mostly because if you memorized verses, they gave you ice cream sundaes, and there were 2 hot girls there. One's name was Lisa, I still remember. That's why I went. It was Lisa and hot fudge sundaes. I memorized Romans 3:23, very first scripture I memorized, and it's for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And I think it's amazing that that verse is still in my head. Amanda and I were talking whenever we decided what scripture we were going to use for tonight. And she said, well, I was looking at some in Romans 3:23, and I'm like, for all sin, come short of the glory of God. I know that one. And the reason I know that one is because that one is so important for my life. Because I have lived a very, very sinful life. I have not been a good person. I have been a horrible person. I have torn people apart. That kid I was talking about with the jeans and the Wranglers on, yeah, I was the first one to start chucking rocks at that kid. Okay? I was a jerk when I was younger. And a lot of us can identify with those feelings. A lot of us know what it's like to be the person that sees somebody that's a little bit different from us and starts picking them apart, starts picking out those flaws that they have, those things that make them different, that set them apart from us and our group of our cool people. Why do people flock together that are so alike? Because there's comfort in that. Because we all have the same crap. So I'm not going to call yours out, because if I do, you're going to call mine out, and then it's just going to be a big old pile of crap. Nobody wants that, so what we'll do is pretend none of it exists. Well, we know that you have the big dark spot on your leg, but we're going to pretend just by standing like this, it goes away. So we live our lives that way, and anyone that's different than that, we point that stuff out. We point those dark spots out in their lives. And the reason we do that is because we're so afraid somebody's going to see ours.